Welcome in the Cafe Nightly Show. I'm your host, Goldsmith. It is the 15th of July, 2024, and we're getting used to it. It is what it is. No big surprises, no big announcements, no city announcements, nothing coming up immediately, but we have some small things. Number one, quick reminder, we kind of went into the rigmarole, the end of Genesis season 2024 playbook already. And Genesis season 2024 technically is over. It ended at 9 a.m. PT today. But wait, there's more. We have a couple bonus days. The bonus days come into the fact that some contests were interrupted by the Sparklet transition, the transition from Spark to Sparklet. Because that happened, we have an extension of a couple key points, key parts of Genesis season. A, the gamification, and B, the ornament contest. So we'll get into that. We'll those reminders. Also, we do have back again, try it again, do it again, maybe earn some OPIX, and that is for some Flash Challenge. A Flash Challenge, as a reminder, that is being made not in Discord, not in an official announcement, not in some place that's a traditional form of communication. It is in the game of Upland. That's where you're going to see these Flash Challenges. That's how you're going to participate in these Flash Challenges. That's how you're going to win the UPIX. And that's where you're going to see some weird art. And I'll get into that. Again, I've got some feelings, but I think we're at that point where, Upland's fully embraced, sneaking in AI art and forget about the old art style that Upland used to have, what Upland used to do with their art style, and embrace it. Embrace that AI is a lot easier, quicker, and you can jump in and get your art done in minutes, not hours. So let's get kicked off, and of course, let's protect my butt. All views and opinions expressed by myself are mine and mine alone. Should be taken as game strategy or financial advice. And also protect Upland's butt, of course. They do not represent the game or the team of Upland. Again, any guests or contributors who we do have on, they have their own opinions. They have their own views. They're welcome to them. Should be taken as game strategy advice or should be taken as financial advice. I don't represent myself, the goals for the Cafe Nightly Show, the game, or the team of Upland. Easy enough. So I do want to say one thing here. Obviously, I talk about the doldrums, a little bit of this idea, and it's kind of been mentioned elsewhere and by others that we have this post-Genesis week slide through the summer. And you could even look at it as, the summer ends up being people doing so many other things. Maybe there's Upland vacations, people who work for Upland who are taking summer vacations. Maybe there's people, overall, maybe the player base is not playing so much because, for Northern Hemisphere, not Southern Hemisphere, it's winter right now in Southern Hemisphere, but for the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer and, school's out and people are, going and doing things outdoors instead of playing on their phones as much. I don't know what it is, but I do know that we have this history in the summer to go, come off this cliff, come nice and slow. But also it is a staging time. We had that with our totems last year, where we had things kind of a little slow so that we could have all the stuff for totems hit in the fall. And I know Upland was working on those totems to get them ready for the fall. Upland was working last year on a little bit of a revision of how the pack sales and how the functionality for passes worked for the NFLPA legits, and again with the mementos and the passes, how those work. So maybe we see some of that going on in the background. We do also want to highlight that the chapter 2 is going to be a little different than chapter 1 for totems. That is something that's meant to be coming. We do fully expect there to be another city at some point in the not so distant future. We know the Sparklet is behind closed doors, more or less. Upland is still working on it. They can't give all the details. It's getting closer. I'm sure they may already know what's going to happen. They may still be working on some final arrangements. They may still be working on some dates, but that's been probably a big part of their time, aside from everything else, because they are working on everything else as well. They have to be working continuously on, elements of racing. We know they have a team that's mostly dedicated there. We know that Upland is working on continued improvements, and they had been for a while on the UGC side of things. We had some significant improvements rolled out not so distant in the past, and they have to continue to build out, this idea of building out the next city, because that's a continual roll over and upward. It's a new thing. It's coming. We know it's a continuous, improvement in upwind. It's a continuous focus in upwind to make the next city a little better than the last city, or make the rollout be as smooth, if not smoother, along with some form of gamification that excites people and makes people want to mint in that new city, even though they've had 40 plus cities, even though people have thousands of properties in some case, some little bit of excitement that gets them, oh, I got to go to this next city, this next challenge, this next mint. And we'll just continue to see that in the background. But let's look at what we have as of today. So as of today, we do have a reminder. The reminder on the Genesis season is the season's technically over. What isn't over is two portions of it, and we'll get over to those two portions. Two portions. The ornament challenge. We've gone over some of the details there. We've looked at some of the top finishers, the people who are likely to finish top in the last week. We know that there's still some time left over. We know that those boards, those leaderboards, are not finalized until they're finalized. We're going to see the end of the season. We're going to see end of the earning period, and then maybe 6 or 8 hours afterwards, they're going to be fully finalized. And, people won't know what people did the last 2 minutes of the challenge, and the leaderboards go poop, and then they're out the window. We don't know what the first place, second place, third place is going to be until Upwind releases an official updated version. Friendly reminder that Genesis Season Ornament Challenge and gamified earnings deadlines have been extended to Wednesday the 17th. So we're on Monday now, still Pacific time. We did have 9 a.m. PT would have been the original closure, and it was the closure of the season. But for the Ornament Challenge and the gamified earnings specifically, they got pushed to July 17th at 9 a.m. PT. The reason why they got pushed is because there was a couple days where the direct interactions needed to potentially interact in this contest or have stake for a certain period of time in the challenge was interrupted, was shortened. So in order to help off the things there, streaks that existed did continue on. So if you were on a 5-day streak and you got cut off for 3 days, well, it started back over from the 6th day and kept on, or the 5th day anyways, 5th day and change, and kept on from there. We do know that there are many challenges that were that way, continuous activity or a cumulative activity. So you had those couple extra days that you would have missed in activity that you could sneak in there. So do have 2 days left to participate. Again, it is still that 9 a.m. PT. So it's not the end of the day. It is that 9 a.m. PT time in the middle of the day to keep an eye out on. And additionally, alongside that, the ornament challenge. We talked about how exciting it was that people had put so much effort in, and how it is still up until the very end up in the air. It could change the last 2 minutes. So keep that in mind. If you're still participating, if you're still competing, if you just finished that one last structure, you just picked up 2 more ornaments, toss them up. You're jockeying for rank. You should be or could be working towards Block Explorer, or depending on which you're in, which of the categories you're in, where you sit on the list. 2 might be enough to sneak you in there and get that Block Explorer. So keep on participating. Hey, Blue, good to see you. Glad you're here. Good to see Cheese as well. So it is something you still have the time to participate. And of course, we really want to hit 5. We really want to hit 5 on our gamified earnings. If you're at 4 tasks, you have another 2 days or day and a half at this point to complete another 1. If you're at 3, you can complete 2 next 2. I keep pushing this out there. There are so many tasks on the list that are easy. If you're looking for easy ones, go and look at ones that you can do without time. You could start 5 treasure hunts in about 5 minutes. That's not hard. You don't have to finish them. You just start them. Start 5 treasure hunts. You can do that in 5 minutes. Doesn't take 5 days. You can travel. You can fly 5 times. Again, that's costly. It's costly. It's not the cheapest thing. You could travel to to 3 Block Explorer stores. That's easy. You could buy 3 items from secondary shops. That's easy. They cost. There's a cost involved with that. But these things can all happen pretty easy. Patronize and go to different meta ventures. That can be a huge thing. That can be helpful. That can be easy. Hi, Rob's. Good to see you. And that can be something that you put a little tiny bit of effort in, and that is that fifth task that'll get you to the 14.7 gamified earnings on an annualized basis over the course of the year. So definitely keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that you still have time. You have a day and a half. Sneak those in. I want everybody to be at 5 tasks completed. I want everyone to be at 14.7 earnings. Yeah, if you want to sneak in and be extra ambitious and go for the 15.1, go for it. Have fun if you can do it. But again, 5 tasks get you 14.7% gamified earnings annualized rate over the course of the next season, which will be sizzle season starting on the 1st of October. As we talked about, as I continue pushing out, we have that 2-week hiatus break. This is a great opportunity to have a city release, and we're getting there. So if you are stacking, you are building, you are sitting on your OPEX to be ready, to get ready to potentially go and mint the next city, it is about time to finish that activity up or continue to stack that, because that city, there's lots of reasons to think it's coming. The 26th kicks off the Olympics in Paris. There's plenty of reasons to think that maybe it might be a great time between the 17th of July and the 26th of July for the city of Paris to be released in Upland. This is not a bit of advice to go ahead and spend all your USD that you have in your savings account and buy property so you can sell them into UPEX so you have the UPEX ready for the mint. This is a suggestion that if you are wondering when's the next city release, it would not necessarily be the worst thing in the world for Upland, given Upland's timing, given the economic timing and what's going on in the world and what's going on with excitement about the Paris Olympics. It might not be the worst time to release a city like Paris that is going to be in the news over the next several weeks. And maybe wait until it starts being the news a bunch and then get it released then as well. There's a possibility, but it does feel like it is a very topical time for Paris. You're going to hear Paris in the news a whole lot, and we're going to see a lot of it over the next several weeks, starting in about a week and a half. So keep that in mind. Keep your eyes open for what might happen here in Upland. Let's take a look at the other piece. The other piece that is one of those little tiny pieces of news that's still a piece of news, and in a way is a big piece of news. We talked about it before already, but let's continue to remind ourselves that if we want to fully experience the game of Upland, we have to keep our eyes on the in-game chat, because that's where part of the game is being played right now. The flash challenges, obviously, it doesn't actually affect your direct in-game play, other than the fact that you could win a prize. That prize is typically UPEX. That UPEX can be applied into the game of Upland. So it's ultimately a community activity. It's your ability to share and be part of a community discussion. You put a post out there in a public way, other people can see it, other people can interact with it. It is something that the game of Upland, the team of Upland can use this and take these suggestions to help improve the overall experience for other people. So it's a win-win-win if you ask me. Let's take a look. Genesis season is behind us. This is key to know. Take a look over here. This is Miles B. Chain. Yes, the official Miles B. Chain account. This is where we're normally in the game of Upland when we're looking at our message or we're looking at our feeds, our following. We all follow Miles. We all had to. It started that way. That's the way every single, hey, Grizzly, good to see you. Good to see you, KO. That's where we saw all of the feeds start. All the feeds start. It was poof. Magically, we're all following Miles B. Chain. But this is for good reason. Again, this is where official announcements are coming out in the game of Upland. You're not going to Discord. You're not looking at all of the Medium articles, though there are some more in-depth information in the Medium articles. There's more in-depth information coming out on Twitter articles that Upland's putting out. I guess you can call it X if you want to, but Twitter articles, that's where you're seeing more in-depth information as well as Medium. But this is a place where we can see things that happen quickly, things that might be happening only for a couple days, reminders of things, events, all coming through this account. So again, we're halfway through the year in 2024. Genesis season officially behind us. In my feelings, and I need your help. What? Let's try this one more time. Genesis season is behind us, and we're halfway through 2024. Ellipses. In my feelings, and I need your help. I don't know. I guess Miles is a llama, so punctuation and grammar may escape him, and I will allow that. Let me know in the comments what you're most looking forward to in the second half of 2024, or your favorite memory from the first half of the year. I'll pick 5 comments that bring me joy to get 10,000 up. Again, this is 5 individuals, each of which submitted something in the comments that poof turned into 10,000 upticks. And ultimately, these are the type of suggestions that Upwind does see. Maybe the solicitation of these comments, people asking, or the team of Upland asking what you're looking forward to, what you're thinking, what you're seeing, what you want to see in the future of the Upland, what you saw as important in the first half of the year. Those could influence what Upwind does in the future. It's a big bonus if you put out something that you really liked and Upwind takes that and focuses more on that. If you put out something you want more of in the end of the year 2024 and Upwind takes notice of that and follows that direction, that would be a big benefit here. But 10,000 upticks is not too bad either. Winners will be selected Wednesday, July 17th at noon PT. That means get this in. Get these in, get these in, get these in, get these in. So have it in by the 17th, this coming Wednesday at noon PT. I'd say do it quite a bit earlier than that if you can. So what you're going to do is reply one of 2 things. What are you looking forward to in the end of 2024? Again, the second half of the year. We have finished June. We are officially second half of the year 2024. And then, of course, the other one is, what did you enjoy most? There was a bunch of things that happened in the first part of the year this year. We had a bunch of firsts in the game. Consumables came in. Some burnables, some burn and earn type of events kind of built in or grew. We had previous burns in the fall, but we have burns and earns here in the earlier part of this year. We have some new elements in racing. We had a couple new things. Again, we had some layer 2s come in the game of Upland in the first half of 2024. We had a few things come up that have been more information than they have been explanation or growth, inclusive of the first airdrop. Again, that is a earning, that was an event, that was a promotion, that brought new people in the game, that brought some people some more Sparklet. We had the transition from Spark to Sparklet that technically happened in the second half of 2024, but we might just call it first half just in case, where all of these things hit at the right time and with the right energy, that they are going to propel us into the rest of the year. And maybe, just maybe, you could talk about some of the things that you're most excited about. For example, maybe that Spark transition or Sparklet transition, having Sparklet become a token that is exchangeable outside of Upland, on the Ethereum chain, exchangeable potentially with swap pairs, potentially utilizable by other events or other ecosystems. Maybe that's a big focus for you. Maybe Upwind sees a lot of that. Maybe they take that to heart. Maybe you talk about NFLPA because you want to see NFLPA 3.0, 4.0. I think we're at 4.0 at this point, where we've had a couple little iterations and shifts along the way. And that partnership maybe sometimes felt like it wasn't as much as it could be, but it's still there. So far as we know, we continue to see another season, another edition of the NFLPA partnership with Upland. We're going to see the 2024 season. Maybe it's done a little better for most people in a way that a lot of people are more excited about. Maybe there's a way to utilize the assets in a different way. Maybe there's a way to burn in a different way. And those burns help players achieve what they want, improve the assets they have, the lists they have, the mementos they have. Maybe we did have the first versions of replicas come in the game. Maybe we get a big surprise and we finally get those signable replicas that we had talked about, or Upland had talked about in the previous iterations. Maybe we do get more of these player interactions that Upland had targeted, as being a part of the game 2 years ago that Upland is originally working towards. So there's a lot of things that could happen this year. There's things that we know are going to happen. We know that Upland's going to do incremental improvements in racing. That's something they want to keep doing. Likely we're going to see, and we know it's coming to some degree, private aviation, when the private aviation, when the planes are going to launch, when private flight becomes a thing. Kiro, good to see you. and beans. Looking forward to beans, but we can look forward to more coming out in the second half of the year with again Upland potentially getting us the future iterations, and I think we're going to the future iterations of chapters and totems. We know every chapter we get through in with our totems is an opportunity to grow our proton piles. Our proton piles are going to become stem. Our stem is going to become the driving force, the engine of life in the game of Upland. I think the interesting thing is 2023 Genesis Week. That's last year. That's over 12 months ago at this point. It's 13 months ago. So was very much about totems and their connection to life and how important life was. And I feel like we have had a little bit of a deviation from that to work on Spark so much, which is a building block of buildings, of inanimate objects in Upland. Inanimate objects, when I say buildings, but it also includes things like map assets and cars and vehicles and flight and all of that. That's Spark. It's all of those things. So we took a little bit of a deviation from this idea of life, but I think that you could have a little bit of excitement about what we could do to getting towards life in the game of Upland. I know that we have seen a couple of these things take years to actually happen. Like we talked about cars, and we started having cars come into the game, and that happened over a year before we really had strong racing built in the game, and that came around, and we've had cars for a couple of years now. We're moving into 2 years of cars, or we're starting to see how that's evolving. Again, we are almost a year into totems. We're over a year into having totems announced and knowing about totems. We're almost 2 years into almost entire year into having totems a part of the game of Upland. So it'd be interesting to see that second chapter happen, see what happens afterwards, maybe get a little bit of momentum rolling towards where life introduction would be. We all know that things like large things like life are going to be significantly aided by what's going on in other ecosystems. Good to see Adopus crew. We have seen Upland already talk about how important species.io is, this idea of a foundation to tie together life and other ecosystems. So we love to see more of that this year. I don't know. These are just some thoughts. These are just some thoughts from the community. I'd love to see yours. I know Miles would love to see yours. Take the opportunity and do this. All right. Easy enough. We don't have a ton else. I do like to kind of wander there when we talk about a topic as broad as the future of Upland, but what could be coming up, what's coming up next. And again, you can have your own list, both from what has been promised and hasn't yet happened. We could even include blueprints on that list, because I know that's a lot of people's been their goals for years is I want to design custom structures in Upland. I want to sell them to people. That is cool. That is something that Upland's talked about for literally 3+ years. And it's cool to see that that's finally falling into place and finally coming. So if that's what you're looking forward to, let Upland know that as well. Look at the comments here. Excited to see the utility of vehicles. There you go. And then Fly Through looks at Dead Crypto Kitty Island. More utility of vehicles would be nice. I do know that this idea of transportation, this is 8-10 months old since this came in the game. This idea of being able to transport between cities with our vehicle for ourselves. We know passengers are coming. Upland told us that. We know assets being moved in our cars is coming. We know Upland talked about that kind of when the roadmap update for 2024. So we could see all of those things, more utility for our cars coming in the not so distant future. Upland talked about the potential for how we could have different forms of environments in our structures, including things akin to cafes that kind of have some integration into structures that people have. That is obviously further down the road, but we have a ton of these utilities that could come to assets that we already have in the game. Structures being one, obviously cars being another. Looking forward to seeing that happen. Cannot even be bothered to keep a totem alive and ruin my sleep. Kiro. It's not that hard. It's not that hard because the penalty is not there is a maximum benefit, but the penalty is not so much about missing your feed cycle by a fraction of the feed cycle. It's about missing the entire feed cycle. Missing the entire feed cycle, yes, That's a major penalty. That's going to affect what you're going to get. That's going to potentially affect the overall life, quote unquote, of your totem in that cycle in order to give you some rewards along the way. But you don't have to be perfect in order to get these to earn along the way, to earn totem along the way. In many cases, you just have to be 80%. And depending on what your totem cycle is, once you know what your totem cycle is, how often you defeat it, what do you have to feed it, 80% is not that difficult for most totems. Some more difficult than others. Most not that difficult. You don't have to interrupt your sleep that much to get by and to manage most feed cycles. So keep that in mind and think about when you get ready for totems, reach out, get support. There's previously had been listings and people putting tools out early to say, this is how you feed your totem. This is the maximum amount to feed it. This is the timing to feed your totem based on blank, based on your totem, your information. So that was really helpful for people. Keep your eyes out, do that research, and let's work together on these, make them as efficient as possible. KO, did you see the AI photo of the ninjas? I tagged them. I didn't see this AI photo of the ninjas out on X, but that's kind of cool. I don't know who put it out there. Cool that it's out there. Again, along with the following miles in the game of Upwind. Obviously, I do follow Upwind's X or Upwind's Twitter a bit as well. Let's do it. Let's do it, and let's call it a night. Let's take a look at Upwind's Twitter. Always fun because I get surprised every once in a while. Every once in a while, Upwind puts out something that is the hint, is that Easter egg, is it coming next? So let's take a look. Disruptors, we know about those. They're pinned right now. So that was a new feature dropping in the middle of last week. We know that is still here. We got that friendly reminder, of course, that we already discussed, that the Ornament Challenge with gamified earnings, those two things, Ornament Challenge and gamified earnings, have been extended slightly due to that Sparklet transition period where people couldn't do things. One of the best Web3 games on the market, and we're just getting started. This is according to the newscrypto.com. Oh, look at that. Not an article where you get too much in, but that's pretty cool. As Upwind continues to expand across the globe, we're wondering where you are from. What part of the map are you from? This is a comment, obviously. Comment, like, share type of post. And yes, we've had this. We've discussed this. This has been something that's been out there for a bit, is this idea of Queensbridge, Las Vegas. This was a week and a half ago when this originally happened. We saw it get sold. Some large properties associated with it, but Queensbridge, obviously, big neighborhood to get launched in. Pretty cool to see that be sold in crypto and someone buy it so they can more properly or within their own expectations build that out. So kind of cool to see how that got built out and how that will get built out here in the future. So let's take a look just to see that it exists, this article together, and maybe the link for it is not working. Oh, there it goes. All right. We've got a few things here. So obviously this is Web3 gaming has come a long way. Current crop of games vying for market share occupy different genres and attract distinct audiences, but they share a number of things in common. Obviously, this is about how blockchain. No, not now. How blockchain and in Web3 there are competitive ecosystems, and there are some cream of the crop, rise to the top type projects, and it's nice to see Upwind's name up on the list. So My Pet Hooligan, NFL Rivals on the list, Upland here, Alien Worlds we know about, an oldie, but one of these things, right? A little bit cyclical, coming back on the upswing, Alien Worlds, and having that kind of little bit of an Alien Worlds Upland crossover with Alien, with Upland, the babies. That's the one. The Alien Worlds crossover again for the Hackathon 2024 winner here this year. So definitely something that we take a grain of salt every time one of these articles is written. It's written for the perspective of the author, of the writer. We know that some of the notes that I see on these when I read it as somebody who's been playing Upland for 3.5 years. I say, some of those things are true. Some of those things aren't true. They're not the worst things. They're not always horrible articles. The person doesn't have the same experience that all of us have. So when we look at some of the details, we can kind of go, But it is nice to see Upland's name in those lists. And again, it is Upland's job, in part, one of their jobs, to help promote when they can promote. And if somebody else is promoting Upland as being great, just sharing that and letting them know that somebody, not Upland obviously, but someone in addition to Upland thinks Upland is great. So that's nice. So for tonight, I will keep my eyes open. I think you should too. We are in a time where we very well could have a city release announced very shortly because of the extension of the Genesis season activities. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of let those fade out and then use that 15-day period before the 1st of August to, usher in a new city. Maybe that'd be a great time to do so. Maybe have an announcement about totems as well. That would be great as well. But for tonight, keep your eyes open. We'll keep looking, and again, we'll have the announcement when they hopefully come out, the big ones that should be coming out shortly. But for tonight, thank you so much for being here Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. PT in the Upland Cafe Discord, as well as on Twitter and on YouTube. Tuesdays and Fridays, we try to make an appearance in the Upland Plaza, which is still going, still alive. This Sunday, hosted a morning meditation session, which tantric, yeah, that's right, yeah, tantric yoga, which I didn't get to, but it was interesting that we do have those type of events happening. It's nice that they're promoted in the in-game chat. More people see them, so kind of cool to see those events happen. I gotta get in there. I gotta see these events happen and see how many people actually come in and enjoy them. So for tonight, thank you so much for being here. If you're in the Upland Cafe Discord, feel free to unmute your mics. The floor is yours.